You're listening to the newest podcast in Goshen County, Why It Matters, brought to you exclusively by Goshen Economic Development. We'll dive into the reasons why economic development is so important in our communities and talk one-on-one with members who explain the benefits that economic development provides. Now here's your host, Goshen Economic Development CEO Braden Konar.
Good morning. This is Braden Konar, CEO of Goshen County Economic Development, and with me today for our Why It Matters podcast / radio spot is Mr. Chris Mickey, Director of Strategic Partnerships and Advocacy for the Wyoming Business Alliance. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, Braden.
Yeah, we appreciate. Chris actually just spoke at our partnership breakfast. These are recorded prior to going on the air, but he just spoke at our partnership breakfast at 21st and Main and gave the audience a really good presentation on what the Business Alliance was. And so I think we'll start there. So what is the Wyoming Business Alliance?
Yeah, the Wyoming Business Alliance is really Wyoming's premier business advocacy and trade organization. So what we do is we take businesses from all around the state and some outside the state but have operations within Wyoming and get them together to trade best practices and just get to know each other. And then as well as we do advocate and lobby to the legislature on their behalf. So it's a really great organization. We have almost 400 members statewide, ranging from the smallest, one-person operation on a ranch to some of these huge multinational corporations, again, that have operations in Wyoming and everywhere in between. So every industry from hospitality to mineral extraction and industry, we're involved in all of those and have members throughout all different types and walks of life. And that's what really makes our group really diverse and interesting is our membership. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's really fascinating that Wyoming is known for ag, mineral extraction, tourism, Yellowstone, Devil's Tower, whatever. But I'm sure that you guys cover the gamut. I mean, I'm sure that it's not just Arch Coal that's a huge member. You cover the gamut of industries in the state of Wyoming, and I think that's really cool. I mean, you're somewhat of a large Wyoming Chamber of Commerce ish. I mean, I don't know if that's the right analogy, but.
Yeah, I think that's close. And, the great work that our local chambers of commerce do in their towns and counties, we really just take that a little bit wider and take it statewide. And so we don't have a Wyoming Chamber of Commerce per se, so we kind of act as that for the state of Wyoming.
So the Business Alliance, you obviously have a mission. What do you stand for? What is the reason you guys exist? What is the reason you go to work on behalf of these businesses in Wyoming every day?
Yeah, we really just want to make sure that Wyoming businesses have the tools and resources to be successful in Wyoming. And we really pride ourselves on making sure that they're able to connect with each other, have those resources available to them, and then make sure that, our legislature is supportive of their causes and their ability to be successful in the state of Wyoming. And we want to make sure that they have the very best employees and, the very best customers and strategies that they can have to be successful and grow and really a rising tide lifts all boats, as a lot of people would say, is, if we have a lot of businesses that are successful in Wyoming, we get kids that want to stay in Wyoming. We grow and broaden our tax base, and it really goes to economic diversification and economic growth in the state of Wyoming. And each business has a small part in that, but once you get them all together, you can really make a difference in the state. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Wyoming's full of small businesses. Goshen County's full of small businesses. They talk, the big statistic there is small business is the main economic driver across the nation. And so, I think that's really important. You mentioned the legislature. I know that the Wyoming Business Alliance has a voice at the legislature. You spoke that you guys are lobbyists. You do lobby bills. So, I think it'd be interesting for our listeners, give us an overview. What did you guys really target this year in the legislature? What did you go after? What did you push?
Yeah, we had a very interesting legislature, as I'm sure everyone's aware. Anytime that you have almost a third of the legislature as new folks, that's a very heavy lift. These folks have to come in and know such a wide variety of issues and how to address those issues that I feel like a lot of times our role is to educate some of these, especially freshman legislators, on some of the issues that they may not be as intimately involved with, like on the campaign trail and things like that. So we really pride ourselves on just making sure that there's some of these issues that we're able to just give them more information on to allow them to make a better informed choice when they go to vote. But some of our big things that we worked on this year, mental health and mental wellness of the people in our state has been huge for us and our members. And, we hear from our members all the time that if they don't have an efficient workforce that, comes to work every day, feeling a sense of pride in their work and ready to go, that's a huge detriment to their business. So Wyoming ranks number 1 in suicides, and we don't want that rank anymore. We don't want to be number 1 in that. We want to be number 50. We want to make sure that businesses have employees that are mentally well and ready to go so that they can be efficient and grow. And so mental health and mental wellness has been a big push, especially this legislature. We did get a couple bills passed, the 988 suicide hotline, which is a huge one. That came federally down to the states. And then, of course, we were trying to make sure that it got funded so that we have some local call centers. And we just heard a couple weeks ago that the Wyoming suicide rate has fallen for the first time in a few years. So we're really happy that we're making some headway on that. We're happy that we get a partnership with the governor's office on that. That is a huge priority for Governor Gordon and his office. And so we're happy to be working on that. Education is always a huge priority for the Business Alliance. These kids that are in our schools, they are our future business leaders. They're our future workers. And we need to make sure that they're well educated and ready to go for the workforce when they get there. And whether that be through college or through, a trade program or, our community colleges, we want to make sure that they have the pathway that they choose to go down and have that available for them. So workforce training, we're pushing a bill this year, which didn't pass, but the Wyoming Tomorrow's Future Scholarship bill, which that has passed, and it is a program that exists, but it's not funded. And so we're working on getting that funded. And that really takes non-traditional students and allows them to be able to work through our community college programs to, if they want to be a welder or, they want to work in culinary arts or whatever it is that they want to go to as a non-traditional student, 24 or older, that they're able to go back to school. And, the state helps pay for that. So that's something that we've been working on. And then this year, property tax issues has come up. And there's no part of the state that's immune to that. Some of the state has a little bit, more effect than others on property tax. Obviously, places like Jackson, those property taxes went up a lot, but it went up everywhere. And so we've just been kind of keeping an eye on those property taxes because that does affect businesses. I mean, some of these businesses have very expensive properties and it can affect their bottom line in the end. So those are some of the big issues that we've kind of tackled this session. Going into the interim, there's going to be a lot more of the property tax issues. And then, of course, the education. Every year there's a budget session. Education is paramount. So we'll keep working on those issues as well. And then mental health, I think we're not going to solve it overnight. So we're going to keep working on that too. So,
yeah, I mean, it's that saying that Wyoming's greatest export is our youth, and we truly do. We export our youth a lot. I mean, I don't know if our youth doesn't see that there's opportunities in Wyoming. I don't know if Wyoming does a very good job of selling those opportunities, but yeah, I mean, it's sad, and that's truly our greatest treasure in the state is our youth and our up and coming kids, those kids that are going to take over the jobs and businesses and industries in the future. And yeah, we don't want to see them leave for another state. Like, that hurts us. Property taxes is interesting. I've heard that and you would probably be better to shed light on this, but that, our main funder of state government is minerals industry. And at one point it was like in the 70% range, and it's kind of been dwindling since whenever. The next biggest piece of funding state government is property taxes. And the biggest payers of property taxes are industry. Those big coal companies, those big oil companies, they pay the lion's share of property taxes across the state. And so Yeah, I mean, for residential users, people on fixed incomes, the property tax is, I mean, it puts a strain for those people across the state that maybe can't handle it. And so, I think it's good that the Business Alliance recognizes that, and that those people matter, that those are the small business owners, those are the ranchers and farmers, those are the whoever they may be. And, it truly is a benefit to those people that property taxes need to stay somewhat in check. I mean, you can't have a huge year over year increase, especially if you're on a fixed income. And so back on the mental health, that's a nationwide thing. I mean, we just came out of a pandemic. That was probably a huge hit to many's mental health. That program isn't that a trust fund funded type program? Wasn't that how it was pushed through the legislature? But it wasn't funded because it's still funded technically through the federal government for a year or something like that?
Yeah, that's correct. And so, the 988 suicide hotline came down nationally during the Trump administration. So it was a big priority of his to make sure that the states had these call centers that were able to help address some of these mental health issues. And that's part of, I think the legislature funded it a little bit for a while. It's not fully funded, in perpetuity at this point. But they funded it for a few years and then added a study on the end before renewing that funding just to measure its effectiveness. And while I wish nobody would have the reason to call into that call center, but I'm hoping that they get a lot of calls that they're able to help address and get people through the crisis that they have. And so we'll see how that study goes. From what I'm hearing is that a lot of people are utilizing that resource when they're in a crisis. So I hope that continues instead of, potentially a tragic other outcome other than, the calls. So we'll see how that goes and if they're able to fund it. I'm hoping that it'll be so overwhelmingly successful that they'll want to continue that down the road. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. It's definitely an issue that I don't know how you tackle it. It's a tough one, but I think that it's a solid first step, right? And so, the segment's called Why It Matters, but typically we roll into why it matters. But I feel like everything you've talked about truly shows why it matters, why what you guys are doing as an entity and what you're doing at the legislature and what you're doing across the state of Wyoming, and showing that why it matters. So I guess we'll, kind of wrap up. I would say the Wyoming Business Alliance does a big forum in the fall, Governor's Business Forum in November timeframe in Laramie. Do you want to shed some light on that?
Absolutely. I'd love to. So we partner with the governor's office, and I think this is I want to say it's our 24th or 25th year that we've been doing this, and we've partnered with each governor since then to put this forum on, and we really gather about 500 business leaders from all around the state together. We have great speakers. We have very informative panel discussions, usually ranging from mineral extraction to education. We always have a legislative panel. Because it is in November, it's usually a really good segue into whatever comes in the legislature during January or February. That will be November 13th through 15th of this year. And that'll happen at the University of Wyoming in Laramie at the beautiful Rochelle Gateway Center, as you know how amazing that place is. And we love having it there, and the university has been a wonderful partner. So if anybody would like to come to that, registration will probably open sometime early in the summer, and we'll make sure to get that out. But anybody can certainly hop on and register for that, and we'd love to have everybody. So
no, it's a phenomenal event. I've gone to it numerous times, and yeah, it's eye-opening what you can learn at something like that. And typically the governor, whoever that is at the time, whether right now it's Governor Gordon, kicks it off, gets us rolling, and yeah, it's a phenomenal event. So Chris, thank you for coming to Goshen County this morning and speaking at our partnership breakfast. And I think we just appreciate you guys working with us and being supportive, and so appreciate you coming.
Absolutely. We're always here to help. So if ever anybody in Goshen County needs us, we're just down the road in Cheyenne, so we're happy to assist in any way we can. Cool. Well, thank you. Again, it's Chris Mickey, Director of Strategic Partnerships and Advocacy for the Wyoming Business Alliance. So thanks, everybody, for listening.